This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, carries us all, we're blessed and holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train don't carry no sadness, this train. This train don't carry no sadness, this train. This train don't carry no sadness, fills you up with joy and gladness. This train don't carry no sadness, this train. This train is powered by Spirit, this train. This train is powered by Spirit, this train. This train is powered by Spirit, Christ love's calling, can you hear it? This train is powered by Spirit, this train. This train will carry you higher, this train. This train will carry you higher, this train. This train will carry you higher, fill your heart with holy fire. This train will carry you higher, this train.
Say it again now.
This train is bound for glory, this train.
Hallelujah.
This train is bound for glory, this train.
Let me hear you.
This train is bound for glory, carries us all, we're blessed and holy. This train is bound for glory, this train.
Surely the presence in this place and in all places and in all creation, knowing and accepting this, we behold the divine presence in all creation throughout the world without exception, knowing that there are many paths to God, many names for God, many faces of God, but only one God. And God is expressing as all creation in all ways, always. We come together this morning to experience and express our oneness and divinity. And for the wisdom to live this in everything we think, say, and do, we say thank you, that it is so and so it is. Amen.
The times I spend in silent prayer are pearls of priceless worth to me. No fear have I, nor dark despair. Your light is everything I see. You lift me now to blessed heights. On wings of song I soar above. In joy, in bliss, my soul delights to know the blessing of your love.
As we prepare for our love offering and candlelighting ceremony, we have the opportunity to truly experience the joy of giving, not just to receive, and not only because we have received, but because we are so grateful for everything that we have received, that our joy is transformed into generosity, and whoever walks through our doors, virtual or physical, may receive these blessings. And I invite you to take your love offering in your heart or in your hand and join me in affirming our prosperity blessing together. In a universe overflowing with unlimited abundance, all the needs of unity, Santa Fe, and those we serve are bountifully met from every direction, known and unknown, expected and unexpected. Our abundant good comes to us now. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I joyously give and all that I joyously receive, and feeling that love and abundance, and grateful for all your gifts, large and small, in any form they come. All those donations, all those gifts of gratitude help keep our inter-spiritual community in the green and help us to continue being here for you every Sunday and in between. And now I invite you to close your eyes, go inward, and light a virtual candle, reminding yourself that you are the light of the world. Visualize that candle and now place it in a virtual bed of salt to remind yourself you are the salt of the earth.
When I give from the source of life within, the font of abundance that flows from the love I am. I am blessed, I am grateful, I am prosperity. So I give as source in the spirit of unity. When I give from the source of life within, the font of abundance that flows from the love I am. I am blessed, I am grateful, I am prosperity. So I give as source in the spirit of unity. Yes, I give as source in the spirit of unity.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Rev Kathleen Flynn is a Unity minister who served Unity Santa Fe as Associate Minister of Pastoral Care until offering her resignation last month in support of a new minister having an open field in which to establish themselves as Unity Santa Fe's new leader. As challenging as being sidelined can be, Rev Kathleen is committed to prayer and affirms a solid faith that Unity Santa Fe will manifest the right and perfect person to serve as the new minister. She holds Rev Brendalyn in the highest regard for her 26+ year commitment to this amazing community. In addition to serving Unity Santa Fe, Rev Kathleen has served 3 Unity centers in the Pacific Northwest. Weekdays, you'll find Rev Kathleen at Christus St. Vincent Hospital, serving on the spiritual care team as a chaplain and bereavement coordinator. Rev Kathleen was born in Alaska and lived there until she moved to Oregon in 2001. She has 2 adult children and 3 grandchildren who live in New York and Alaska. So let's give a warm Unity Santa Fe welcome to Rev Kathleen.
Good morning. Good morning. So good to see all of you. You know, I do a lot of things online now, and one of them is actually run bereavement support groups. And interestingly enough, one of the positive things that we can think about coming together online is, guess what? We don't have to wear a mask. And I tell them, that has a double meaning, especially for them. They don't have to wear a mask on their face, on their mouth, and they also don't have to wear a mask to those sessions. So let's all take our masks off today and listen as I present a talk. So I named this, What's in Your Clay? And later in the talk, you'll know why. But the whole idea is, I was thinking we're here in New Mexico. The earth is so beautiful here. We have so much red earth, which is very foreign to me, as I was raised in Alaska, and I don't remember any red soils up there. So I'm fascinated by that and by the landscape, which is defined so much by the dirt, the soil, the sand. And then I was thinking about Lent, you know, from ashes to ashes and dust to dust, and to dust we will return. Well, in Santa Fe, we clearly know what dust and sand and earth looks like. This is a very earthy place to live, isn't it? I love to go walking outdoors, whether it's inside the city area or out in the country, because every place you look, especially the beautiful sky, is such a blessing to us. So when you look at that earth and you look at what is very clay-like here, and many beautiful artistic pieces are made from native clays here in the northern New Mexico area. So what's in your clay? This talk is about faith. And I love this quote from Tagore because I love birds. And it is, faith is the birds that chirp before the light of dawn, knowing the sun will soon rise. And this morning on arising, before the sun was up, I heard the crows up early. I think they were giving me a little cheering squad message this morning, just saying, yeah, the sun's going to come up, and this is going to be a beautiful time of connection with Unity Santa Fe. So it was late summer in 2006 in Portland, Oregon, 3 months after finishing graduate school. I sat in my apartment in deep discernment about what I had thought would lead to becoming a Unity minister. Recent events made that possibility seem highly unlikely. It seemed the closing of the Living Enrichment Center, Mary Morrissey's megachurch on the fringe of Portland, would personally affect what came next for me. After a night's sleep and deep morning meditation, I knew what I needed to do to become peaceful with my circumstances. When a candidate applies for Unity Field Licensing Program, their congregation has said that they will financially support them through the 3-year process. In fact, it's a requirement by Unity Worldwide Ministries. Unity Church's priorities have shifted as many of the 4,100 displaced New Thought congregants from Living Enrichment Center found their way to our Unity in Lake Oswego on the fringe of Portland. We were now out of space. We were overflowing. We just didn't have places to put people. Finding larger quarters became the top priority. Now, no one had asked me to postpone field licensing, yet I knew the budget would not support my seminarian experience at the same time as investing in new quarters needed for a much larger congregation. Sad but resigned, I picked up the phone and called Catherine Kellogg, Field Licensing Program Coordinator at Unity Worldwide Ministries. Fighting tears back, I announced I was withdrawing my application from the program. My reasoning for withdrawal was completely understood. As we were saying goodbye, I was distracted by the flapping wings of 2 auspicious birds that had arrived and perched themselves on the rail of my balcony. They stared directly at me, and I at them, from outside the glass door. Our stares were fixed for what seemed like the longest time. The birds had been messengers to me for many years, and I was not fully aware of this pair's significance until a couple of weeks later. During those weeks, a series of unexpected events occurred that changed the course of my trajectory towards ministry, and it changed very rapidly. 2 significant things happened, starting with the following Sunday. I was standing at the door greeting those arriving for Sunday morning service, and a woman told me, she's a woman from the congregation that we'd had some conversations previously, and she told me that the National Conference for the Association of Death Education and Counseling were meeting in Portland next week, and asked me if I was attending. Intuitively, I knew that I must go. It was no accident that I was hearing about this conference. My graduate thesis had been on the use of art as a recovery tool for the bereaved. At that conference, I was joined at the front row table by 2 strangers who arrived awfully close to the start of the keynote speaker. It turned out that they were both hospice chaplains. After rapid introductions and brief contextual statements, they gave me their business cards and suggested I get in touch with their hospice about a chaplain opening. The rest is history. I was hired and began many years serving as a hospice chaplain. And by the way, after I was hired and a couple of years later, they were reminiscing about that. We were doing that together. And they said, you don't know how many people I had interviewed for this position. And it was rather miraculous that I was hired the day after I was interviewed. And by the way, those 2 birds who perched on my balcony railing, well, they were mourning doves, as in grieving. I love to hear stories about spiritual experiences. Is there any among us at Unity who doesn't? It is one of the reasons I came to ministry, to be with like-minded people, to hear stories like Christina told us this morning and be with them in their stories. The excitement of the unfoldment, the formation of becoming, is a spiritual experience made up of hundreds of interactions, moments, celebrations, challenges, and opportunities for growth in depth and in breadth, and most importantly, growing in our faith. Faith is one of the reasons my ministry now is clinical chaplaincy. Something I worked really hard to achieve. My clay had a clinical chaplain in there someplace, and I set out to find it. My clay took form through graduate school, seminary, and in a clinical residency that at times felt personally devastating. Chaplaincy residency is somewhat like SEAL's BUDS training. It's rigorous and it's tough, but there's a reason for that. Residency is challenging because the training is intended to be tough, to cause self-reflection, and to learn from our mistakes. It was also meant to build experience and confidence in residents faced first time with situations that can be traumatic. To stand alongside another whose circumstance makes them feel so vulnerable, sad, angry, disbelieving, and despondent means chaplains must be the breath and the seat of calm, and quite frankly, not always the speaker. Sometimes silence speaks more than words. Sometimes presence speaks more than words. To be with a person when their faith is shaken and seemingly unattainable. And we've all been in that spot before. Calls for a willingness to hold sacred ground for another, knowing these times are about them, the other, and not about me. To be alongside others in their moments of loss requires the audacity to offer oneself as the presence, the potter, the creator, the unseen Holy One. You likely understand I am also saying when we're speaking of faith, it's not necessarily always about ours. It's about faith of another, the thoughts we extend to others as well, as we do in our own prayer request time here in the Unity service. Being alongside a patient in the intensive care unit or emergency department, or a family member of one who is, means holding a cocoon of faith for and with them as they experience that for which the outcome is often unclear and potentially life-threatening. No matter how the circumstances turn out, the souls of those experiencing what is happening need support in moving through it, making sense out of it, and eventually accepting the outcome. There are also times when we get to celebrate together because the outcome is as what they hope for. Faith is alive through all of it. To most, that is not clear in the middle of it. Now, I did not know when I was 12 or 25 or 30 or 45 that one day I'd be a minister and a chaplain. I was also interested in all things spiritual and led the life of a spiritually interested person by reading and attending church and being in discussion groups. When I was 53 years old, dramatic changes took place in my life. I was at the fork in the road of my unfoldment. My children were raised, my marriage had ended. I began to examine what's now in the mix of my clay. I mean, literally. there was an amazingly creative thing happening. I was engaged in art and psychology classes, including clay arts, preparing for graduate school in Portland, Oregon. I intended to become an art therapist. There are no schools like that in Alaska. And eventually, you all know that I changed my master's focus on theology. And though my intention shifted, the rest of the details don't matter to making my overall point for today, which is about faith and what's in yours and my clay. The point is that we are all unfolding and discovering what comes next in our spiritual journey. We are all making new discoveries about what's in our clay. With every turning of the potter's wheel and every tool in the potter's hand, the shaping of our clay will bend and fold into a form that captures the beauty of our original creation. It is truly all in the potter's hands. I would like to share what inspired my talk this morning. This is called a soul collage card, made spontaneously from an image out of a Science of the Mind magazine several years back. Soul collage is a beautiful, intuitive art form of listening to one's own soul, inspired by random images, then creating a collage that has personal meaning. I just want to make a side note here so I don't forget that Jude Byrne and I are both trained soul collage facilitators. And it's been a joy to work with her in her becoming. This card was created October 1st, 2013. I was in my 7th year of hospice chaplaincy when I encountered the perfect images to express the devotion I was feeling in my relationship with my own divine nature, our God within. I found a background to place under the potter's hands that you can see, that tell the story of the potter and creator of original design. We are all designed originally. There are no two of us exactly alike, and each of us is essential to the experience of our spiritual journey here together. When encountering this image and making this card, my mind was filled with possibilities. It was filled with great understanding in how the Creator forms us, then breathes life into us, filling us with potential and possibilities. We are made from pliable and formative. We are made pliable and formative with the water of Holy Spirit. Then the form is finished by the Spirit's fire. In that fire, we become solid, usable and strong containers to protect that within us which remains pliable and ever-changing. It is traditional in journal reflections about soul collage cards to make notes. And I looked back on my notes when I was making this card, and I captured two that were pretty profound. I love the biblical wisdom of the Hebrew people in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Bible. They added to the depths of my understanding as I completed what does this soul collage card have to tell me? What does it mean? What is its gift to me? And now probably to you. Israeli prophet Isaiah wrote some 700 years before Jesus was born. You are our Father. You are like clay. We are like clay, and you are the potter. Even 100 years before then, prophet Jeremiah said, or wrote actually, "Go down to the potter's house where I will give you my message." So I went there and I saw the potter working at his wheel. Whenever a piece of pottery turned out imperfect, he would take the clay and make it into something else. Our souls are turning and journeying and churning and becoming the perfection of God itself. Aren't we told we're made in God's image? Every facet of our divine nature is our individual and collective presence in the universe. Holy, imperfectly perfect, and vibrant with possibility and purpose. 6 months after making this card, another prophecy happened, the prophecy of congregational ministry. You see, I was traveling from one hospice patient home to another over those years, trips that often involved many miles driving in rural Oregon. I kept hearing inspiring messages that I wanted to share with others. I kept imagining teaching classes based on unity principles, the 12 powers, and many more inspiring lessons that happened and helped me and would help others along their spiritual journey. 6 months after making this beautiful, meaningful card about what's in my clay, I was literally on the road, I-5 South to Southern Oregon to begin as a spiritual leader in a unity church. My faith and the faith of a group of individuals desiring a new experience in their special unfoldment came together in the collective clay of a unity community. Now, Unity Santa Fe is moving into that place of new beginnings right now. In this journey, our journey together is as unity friends to let us affirm for and with each other that all is unfolding in divine order, that we are in the flow of faith in ways we may not totally understand right now, yet eventually will. Each of us, through our amazingly competent, spiritually invested, and compassionate board of directors, board of trustees, and every individual of this congregation are traveling together as one in spirit through evolving and exciting times. I have been honored to be a small part of our spiritual unfoldment the last 3.5 years. And I know I can speak for Rev Brendalyn when I say she is also honored and will always cherish what we all together have created in faith, a strong unity Santa Fe. I would like to leave you today with this question. What is in your clay? What is in our collective clay? And how are we allowing the potter to mold our faith as we move forward in this time of transformation at Unity Santa Fe? And I invite you to join me in taking a cue from Reverend Brendalyn, who in her rewirement has already demonstrated faith in releasing and letting go with excitement about her new life. Let us join in a vision of renewed potential and possibilities as we begin systematically selecting our new minister to continue our shared spiritual journey together. So now, in shared prayer, I have a gift to offer you, asking you to take a moment and close your eyes while I read the words to you from Psalm 139. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with my ways, and of course, because you are my creator. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind, and before you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from you, Spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? Not that I really want to. If I go to the heavens, you are. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there too. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for the darkness is as light to you. For you created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am awesomely and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know them full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious you are to me. Your thoughts, O God, how vast is the sum of them. Where I count them, they could and would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. Amen.
And now I am delighted to welcome those of you who are here with us for the first time in our Unity Santa Fe Cyber Sanctuary. I hope your experience here today blessed you as much as your presence blessed all of us here at Unity. Our regular minister, Rev Brendalyn Bachelor, will be back next Sunday. So hope you can join us again. And be sure to subscribe to our newsletter by sending an email to communications@unitysantafe.org, and the address is on the screen. And I invite you to affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God I am surrounds me. The love of God I am enfolds me. The power of God I am protects me. The presence of God I am watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.